Hi guys. Hi guys, can you see me? I'm Kelly Yang. I'm the author of Front Desk and Three Keys, and I'm super excited to be doing my first YouTube live. I hope you guys can see me and will join in a few minutes. We're gonna have a really awesome reading of Front Desk and a sneak peek into Three Keys very soon. Plus, I have all your questions here in my tip jar. My daughter made this for me. I don't know if you guys can see. It says tip jar. I put all your questions in here. There's like tons and tons of questions in there. And I'm going to be reading or answering questions from here. So I'm super excited. Today is Monday. I hope you guys are having a great Monday. I'm in my house here in San Francisco, sheltering in place. You know, it's been a rough month. And I'm sure it's been really hard for you guys too. I'm so grateful that I have you guys and books to help me pass the time. I think that books and reading is a really great way for us to stay connected, for us to bond as a community. And certainly with Front Desk, there's a lot of bonding as a community. And often I think about Mia and what Mia would do if she was in quarantine right now during coronavirus. I think she would have, she would find ways to make the day go by. We only had enough money for one burger, so we had to share. But man, what bacon and mayonnaise and pickles. My mom likes to tease that I devoured the whole thing in one gulp, leaving the two of them only a couple of crumbs. I like to think I gave them more than that. The other thing that was great about that space center was the free air conditioning. We were living in our car that summer, which sounds like a lot of fun, but actually wasn't because our car's AC was busted. So after the burger, my dad parked himself in front of the vent and stayed there the entire rest of the time. It was like he was trying to turn his fingers into popsicles. My mom and I bounced from exhibit to exhibit instead. I could barely keep up with her. She was an engineer back in China, so she loves math and rockets. She oohed and awed over this module and that module. I wish my cousin Shen could have been there and made it look like you were a real astronaut in space. I went first. I put my head where the cardboard cutout was and smiled when the guy said cheese. It was my mom's turn to take her photo. I thought it'd be funny to jump into her shot. The result was a picture of her in an astronaut suit hovering over Earth and me standing next to her in my flip-flops doing bunny ears with my fingers. My mother's face crumbled when she saw the picture. She pleaded with the guy to let her take another one, but he said, no can do. One picture per person. For a second, I thought she was going to cry. We still have the picture. Every time I look at it, my favorite scene to write, it was really hard to write that scene, actually. I wanted to write a scene which captured, what they were like right before they went into the motel, right? Right before they managed the motel and all the anxiety and just the stress of not having a home. I mean, I remember one summer, my parents decided that they were going to move from Louisiana, where we were living, to California, where we were going. And we did not book any apartment or any hotel or anything like that. And the whole summer we were sleeping in our car, which was like really hard, you guys. It's really hard, especially during the summer. Like if you're ever gonna of just like, yes, we're gonna survive, but oh, it is so hard. And like, what are we gonna do? Which leads the Tangs to, of course, managing the front desk of the Cala Vista Motel. And this is kind of the circumstances that they're under right before they take that job, which then sets them up and explains why they would take a job like managing the front desk of a motel and keep working there even when the circumstances became really hard in that job. Okay, so from there, trust me, I saw it. And so many of them, I was like, wow, what a smart question. So you guys have been giving me some really great questions. Okay, let's get started. Is the Cala Vista a real motel in California? It is based on several motels that we managed in California. We managed 3 motels in California. One was in Anaheim, One was in Newport Beach and one was in San Diego. And so Calivista Motel is sort of a combination of all three of them. Some of them were better than others. I remember one motel had like a giant hole in the roof of the manager's quarters. And so when it rained, we actually had to get a bucket because it was like pouring inside. Like literally you'd be like sleeping and there'd be like rain right next to you and oftentimes on you. So it was nuts. It was a nutty situation. I loved it growing up. I thought it was really fun. But what I didn't like was that I felt like it was so not normal compared to where my other friends lived. I always felt like there was something growing up now as an adult. Looking back, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with living in a motel, you guys. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In fact, that's really what's so great about, childhood is you can experience lots of different things. And as long as you still have your family and your teachers at school and your librarians. I mean, I made so many friends with amazing librarians in all these different schools that I went through. So shout out to the librarians out there. And so there really is there's no such thing as a normal and a not normal childhood. And I'm grateful to have that experience because otherwise I wouldn't be able to write about it in front desk. So next question. What is your goal in writing? Do you have a goal in writing? Okay, great question. I do have a goal in writing. My goal in writing is the Asian American girl on the front of a cover, of a book cover, So for me, I always want to be writing stories that are reflecting different circumstances, our times, the times that we're living in today, and all of the sort of crazy ups and downs of being here right now. And that's sort of my goal is to make sure that we have diverse books, that we have diverse kids in those diverse books so that more kids can see themselves represented in stories and they won't have to grow up the way I did, which was thinking that like my life was strange because I never saw it on any TV show or in any movie or in any book. So that's what I'm trying to do. Great question. Okay, next question. Is your favorite food cheeseburgers? Funny thing, I actually do not really like cheeseburgers that much. I do like hamburgers though. I'm not a big cheese person. I do like hamburgers. And my favorite kind of burger these days is a chicken burger, believe it or not. I like to eat chicken burgers or like turkey burgers. I'm not like huge on beef anymore just because, the older I get, the more like I don't really want to eat so much meat. But I do love a good burger. Okay, next question is Jason real? Oh my gosh, I get this question so much whenever I'm going to schools and doing school talks. Is Jason real? If so, is he still your friend or your enemy or your frenemy? Great question. And you will see in 3 Keys, Jason is right there on the cover, which is a clue that he plays a big role in 3 Keys. And he is Mia's friend in 3 Keys. In real life, did I have a Jason in my life? The answer is sadly, I did not have a Jason in my life. I did not have the motel owner's son become my friend. There were several kids who were, the sons of the motel owners. I remember one motel, there was a son who came around a lot. So he was like a Jason. He would come with his dad to the motel, but he did not go to school with me. And I don't even think we talked a lot other than that every time he came by, he would always have a bunch of stuff. Like he'd have like Nintendo and he'd have all these video games that I didn't have. And I would just sort of sit and look at him and just be like, wow, like what's it like to have all this stuff? But he did not go to the same school with me. Another motel that we managed, the owner's son did go to the same school with me, but we stayed away from each other. We really didn't want to be too close together because we didn't want people to think that we liked each other because we were the only 2 Chinese kids in that school. So I stayed away from him. But yeah, I always fantasized about what it would be like to go to school with the owner's son and have to deal with him in my class every day. I often thought about that. And so I kind of took the 2 characters, the kid who always came around with his dad and the kid who went to the same school with me, and I mushed them together and I created Jason. But I love Jason. Jason is the best. And he becomes really interesting in book 2. So I hope you check it out. Another question. Do you feel in actual experience that those were good memories you wrote about? Yes, I absolutely feel in real life. Looking back, those were the most amazing memories, you guys. I wouldn't be writing about Front Desk if they weren't. You know, they were the most poignant memories. They were moving. There were times when we laughed and we cried and we were hysterical and we, you know, we had an amazing time. I mean, it wasn't perfect 100% of the time. It was hard. You know, life was hard. There were times when we didn't have enough food, when we were worried where we were going to live, where we didn't have enough money. I think we even got robbed once. But it was actually really interesting. And I grew a lot and I became a really resilient person, which just means that I could bounce back when something bad happened. And that was a skill that, you know, has served me really well in life. So, you know, if we face hardships head on, which is what Front Desk is all about, you know, it's amazing how we can actually come out of it on top. And we can actually become a stronger person. I really believe that. Okay, next question is, how many times did you write this book? An embarrassing number of times. I am not a perfect writer, you guys. I am someone who writes an okay first draft, and then I have to go back and edit it. And I sometimes have to go back and rewrite it. I'm a good rewriter, you guys. So often for me, when I first have a draft, it's not good. It's like terrible. I don't know if you guys ever feel this way, but I'm not someone who gets it perfect on the first go. I don't think there's anybody that I know who's like that in the professional author world. So if you also have to edit, that is completely 100% wonderful and natural. Don't feel bad for that. Professional writers have to edit a lot. And so I would say that I probably had to rewrite Front Desk 3 times. Favorite part in Front Desk. My favorite part in Front Desk is when the dad, who's right here in the back, I don't know if you can see him. This is the dad. The dad takes Mia to the lake and they have that conversation about the lucky pennies, and he calls her his lucky penny and he says to her, you know, sometimes a mistake is not a mistake. Sometimes a mistake is an opportunity. You just can't see it right then and there. I love that because I'm someone who has made a lot of mistakes in my classes, in my writing. I mean, I make mistakes constantly and have to go back and correct them. I'm not a great speller. I'm always looking up how to spell things, even today, you know? And so that is a great line. A mistake is not a mistake. A mistake is an opportunity to learn and to grow. You just can't see it right then and there. And my second favorite thing is when Lupe says, you can't win if you don't play. I really love that because it's so true. I never thought I'd be where I am today, but you know, I tried writing this book that I didn't think anybody was going to like about my childhood, which I was always ashamed of when I was a kid because I thought it was not normal. But I took a chance. And it took a chance, and apparently people really like this book, and they really like my childhood. And it's not even an abnormal thing anymore. People think it's cool. It's cool to have lived in a motel. So by taking a chance, you can win. But you have to play if you're going to win. So you can't win if you don't play. Okay. Another question is, when did you decide to turn your real life story into a book? I decided to turn my real life story into a book when my son was 8 years old. My son is now 12, going on 13. So 4 years ago, because I did not tell him that I grew up in a motel. And that was such a big part of my life that I felt like I have to tell my kids, right? Like I have to tell my kids. Even if I don't tell my friends, I have to tell my kids. But I didn't know how to tell him. I didn't know how to tell him without scaring him. I didn't know how to tell him without making him laugh. I wanted to tell everything about it, not just like, oh yeah, mom lived in a motel, but like mom lived in a motel and had this amazing experience, and it was exhilarating and it was scary and it was hysterical and it was exciting and it was all these things. I wanted him to know all of it. And so I wrote Front Desk. And that's exactly what I did it for. I wanted to tell my kids a very simple sentence, which I just could not get out, which was that, mom's childhood was a little different from yours. And I ended up writing an entire novel to say that one sentence. Okay, another question. When you weren't at school or managing the front desk, what did you do for fun? Great question. I went to the library. I was a library kid. I grew up in the library. I would always go to the library anytime I could. And to this day, it's funny because to this day, I go to the library all the time. Well, I used to when it was still open and when we weren't sheltering in place. Now I'm just at home. But I wrote all of Parachutes in the library, you guys. So next time you go to your library, look around. There might be an author there. You might see me just sort of hiding away in the back, writing the next book, which would be kind of cool. I love going to the library because the library was my safety place. Like, I really felt safe in the library. I would have amazing librarians who loved me and recommended good books to me. And the fact that I could find those books and it was free, oh my God, it made such a big difference in my life. So I'm a huge supporter of libraries, school libraries in particular, community libraries, all of that. You guys are the heroes in our society. I wouldn't be here without you. So big shout out to librarians. I can't wait until the virus is over and I can go back to the library. Okay, next question is, why did you choose to make Front Desk into a series? Well, I decided after writing Front Desk, I knew very early on that I wanted to tell a full immigrant story. And in order to tell a full immigrant story, I couldn't just stop at one book. There was more story. I wanted to find out what happened to the Tangs. I wanted to find out what happens to Mia and to Lupe and to Jason. And because I wanted to find that out, I had to continue the story. And you will see why when you read Three Keys, which we're going to sneak into in a second. We're going to get a sneak peek of Three Keys. But you will see that there's a lot more to the story, okay? So we all think that it's a happily ever after when they win the motel, when they buy the motel, but guess what? There's a lot more to immigrant life than just that. There's all sorts of other issues that we had to deal with growing up, and I wanted to explore that in another book. So that's why I wrote a sequel. Okay, another question is, who does Mia help and inspire in Three Keys? I will give you a hint. Because you look at the cover, the second book is all about her and her friendship with Lupe and Jason. These three kiddos are like my own kids. I love them so much. All of them are going through different things in Three Keys. They're all struggling in different ways. Some of them are struggling with their family. There's an immigration law that's going to pass, and that's very scary. So Mia tries her best to be a friend and to be an ally and to figure out who she is and her journey as a new kid, as a new immigrant in America, right? As a new kid and as a new immigrant in America. Now she's much more situated in Anaheim, but she still has to figure that out. And she runs into some identity, crisis a little bit, which is like, is she Chinese enough still? And what does that even mean? Is she American enough? What does that mean? So you'll see who she helps, but she definitely helps a lot of people in Three Keys. Okay, next question. What is one piece of advice you have for young writers? And that is to keep writing and to keep reading. Okay, so I was not a perfect writer. I'm still not a perfect writer by any means, but guess what? I kept going. And simply by writing over and over again, writing for yourself, so keeping a journal full of your stories that you like, that you find delightful to write about and delightful to read, you'll get so much better. If you keep doing it, if you do another, a piece every other day or once a week or even every day, you'd be amazed at how much you can improve. And don't make it a thing where it's like, oh, I have to turn it in for my teacher and I might get a bad grade. Writing is an outlet, you guys. It should be for you first. So always try to find the time to write for yourself and keep that journal and read. You cannot become a good writer if you don't read. Next question is, What is the most challenging thing about being a writer? What is the best thing? The most challenging thing about being a writer right now is finding the quiet, because I'm sheltering in place with my 3 kids, and they constantly, you know, I don't want to say they drive me nuts, but they, they definitely test my patience, because they'll come and find me. And so as a writer, you always have to try to find time to write, and it's really hard when you have a lot of distractions around you. So that's probably the most challenging thing. The best part is when you do escape into a story, everything about the real world kind of disappears, and you're in this little special land, all to yourself. That's all for you, that you've built. And it is like the most magical feeling ever. It's even better than going into a video game or into a movie, because it's something that you made and you get to go there anytime you want. All you have to do is pick up your pen. So it is so cool. That's my favorite thing. And it makes like whenever I'm going through an issue so much better, because if like, let's say somebody gets mad at me, or somebody says something I don't like, and I'm sort of frustrated with the real world, I can just kind of disappear into my writing world. And then when I come back, I feel better. I always feel better. Another question is, how much of the book is fiction and how much of the book is nonfiction? I get this question a lot when I'm in schools. And my answer is it's about 60% real and about 40% not real. So you get to figure out which parts are real and which parts are not. You can guess. Okay, another question is, I want to know how you came up with the book's characters. That's a really great question. Often for me, characters are a combination of real people and traits that I really like about people. And sometimes I will combine them with, what's your favorite thing about 3 Keys? My favorite thing about 3 Keys is exploring more of the friendship of Mia and Lupe and Jason. I love those 3 kids so much. You know, they're not perfect kids. I know that Jason drives Mia crazy all the time. But I love their interaction. I love the innocence of these 3 kids. I love that they're all going through different issues. And I'm so grateful for the chance to explore it in 3 Keys more and spend more time with them. I love those kids. I love spending time with them. Another question is, do you have to get the book done on a certain time, or is it just when you get it done? Great question. Often when you are a professional writer, you will have contracts and you will have deadlines. And so you do have to kind of write for those deadlines. However, that said, when I was first writing Front Desk, I didn't have that contract yet. So I could take all the time I want in the world. And I'm known for sometimes pushing books back a season. 3 Keys was actually supposed to come out this fall. Last fall. It was supposed to come out last fall, you guys. And I had a draft. But I looked at the draft and I thought, I think I can improve it. And I actually pushed it back a year. So that's why it's coming out this year. This is now the best book that I can make it. I love it. I think it's the best book that it can be. I feel really proud of it. And so when you do feel that pressure to produce quickly, sometimes you just gotta push back against the pressure and say, I just need a little bit more time. And that's okay. Everybody has that moment. And sometimes the best things take a little time. And that's totally okay. Okay, we have time for a couple more questions. And then we're going to read from 3 Keys. You guys ready? Will there be more characters? Absolutely. You'll get to find out more about them in the book. Another question is, how did you come up with the idea of loan sharks? Loan sharks, you guys, are a real thing, okay? And I remember growing up, there were lots of immigrants that we knew who could not get loans through their banks or through, credit cards or whatever, for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't have enough credit to go to the bank. Maybe, they didn't speak English. There are lots of reasons, and they would have to turn to loan sharks. They're a real thing, and they're so scary because they charge you so much interest that you end up owing much more than you borrowed. And it can be really, really crippling and terrifying and just awful. Okay, another question is, what did it feel like when you stood up to the 6th graders? I don't know if I did. I don't know. That scene in the book where Jason is sort of harassed the 6th graders and Mia stands up for him. I don't think I did that because Jason was not real in my life. I did do that for other friends. And so how did it feel? It felt, it always feels scary but it also feels great because you know you're doing the right thing. Okay, so I didn't do it for the real Jason because he didn't go to my school, and then the other owner's son, we stayed away from each other, so I didn't do it in that case. But I have stood up for many of my friends who are getting teased or bullied by older kids, and you just got to do it. If you stand there silently, the situation is much worse for your friend. So always speak up if you can. All right. Okay, another question. Why was your life so hard when you were little? We're going to end with this question so we can go into the reading. Great question. My life was really hard when I was little because my parents came to America without a lot of money. They came here with $200 in their pocket, which was ridiculous. And they didn't come with a lot of English either. You know, they came from China. At the time, China was still very much, closed off countries. They didn't have a lot of access to English lessons, and they didn't have a lot of money. So that's why my life was so hard. But everybody, there's so many people in this country who are struggling. And it's not just immigrants. It's all sorts of people from all walks of life, and especially during this pandemic right now. And so writing Front Desk was really important for you guys to have a window or a mirror into the life of someone who is having a hard time in life. And you know what? I bet if you look around, there are a lot more people like that than you think. And they're not that different from us. Okay, they all have the same hopes and dreams as us. And so I really hope that through this book, we're all going to learn a little bit more empathy so we can come together as a society and have a really great society where we watch out for each other. Okay, with that, drum roll, please. I'm going to read from Three Keys. This is the world exclusive sneak peek into Three Keys right here, you guys. No one else in the world has this book yet. No one else in the world has opened it up. And here we go. You guys ready? Okay, so here we go. Three Keys. And I love how their feet are dangling in the pool. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's Mia's feet dangling in the pool, and she's got 3 keys. Ooh, so that is a clue. Okay, chapter 1. You guys ready? A very wise person once told me that there are 2 roller coasters in America, one for the poor and one for the rich. I've only been on one of those roller coasters, and I thought I was never going to get off. But as I watched my best friend Lupe decorate the Cala Vista Motel pool with silver and gold lights, a smile stretched across. The lights were the kind you put up at your house at Christmas. Even though it was the middle of August and the summer sun beat down on us, it sure felt like Christmas. We were owners now. We had bought the motel from Mr. Yao, and we were finally going to run it our way. A little to the left, Mrs. T, one of the weeklies, called, pointing to the barbecue at the pool sign. She and the other weeklies, Hank, Mrs. Q, Fred, and Billy Bob, were also helping set up. They were our regular customers at the motel, but they were so much more. They were family. Hank smiled at the sign. The barbecue was his idea. It was part of his friendlier and warmer rebranding of the Cala Vista, and it was going to be delicious. We were having Hank's tangy sweet baby barbecue ribs, Fred's corn on the cob, and my mom's fried rice. Hank adjusted the sign, and we all stood back to admire it. Lupe's dad, Jose, gave a holler and a thumbs up from the roof. I waved back at Jose. Ever since we took over the motel, he's been working almost exclusively at the Cala Vista, which meant I'd gotten to hang out with Lupe all summer long. My mom rushed out from the manager's quarters with a large cooler full of ice, with my dad trailing after her. Don't take that out so early, my dad cautioned. The ice is going to melt. My mom placed the cooler beside the table with the napkins and drinks. Then I'll just run out and get some more, she said. You'd think that now that we were making more money, my parents would stop bickering. But every morning, my dad still pours the cooking oil he saved from the previous night's dinner into the breakfast pan, saying, "Don't waste" in Chinese. And he still pulls a square of toilet paper to wipe his nose instead of using a Kleenex. It's like he still doesn't believe any of this is real, that if he doesn't save every penny, it'll all disappear. I walked over to the plastic pool chairs where my dad sat and bent down next to him. We're on the good roller coaster now, Dad. I told him, things are going to be different. You'll see. That's it, you guys. That is the sneak peek into 3 Keys. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you like the book, please go and pre-order it. You can order it now through your local indie bookstore or online, and you will get it when it comes out in September. I'm so excited for you guys to read the rest. It's about an election, and we are in an election year. It's about an immigration law that's about to pass. It's about friendship. It's about fighting for what you believe in, even though times are hard. It's about getting through those hard times together as a community. So a lot of lessons that are going to be really helpful today as we combat this thing right now and we're struggling to get through our day. So go out and check out 3 Keys. This has been so much fun, you guys. I'm so, so grateful we had the chance to connect. I don't know if I'll probably do another one of these soon. So, keep sending me your questions. This has been so great. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy Front Desk, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you guys so much. Bye.